Okay, so let's learn about the pharyngeal arches. The first pharyngeal arch is also known as the mandibular arch. So it has two derivatives, muscular derivatives and skeletal derivatives. The muscular derivatives are the muscles of mastication, mylohyoid, anterior belly of digastric muscle, tensor veli palatini and tensor tympani. These are the muscular derivatives of the mandibular arch. Let's have a look into the skeletal derivatives. The skeletal derivatives are divided into two. First, the maxillary process. From the maxillary process we have premaxilla, maxilla, zygomatic and part of the temporal bone. This is from the maxillary process. Now another one is there, that is the mandibular process. From the mandibular process we have the Meckel's cartilage, then we have the mandible itself, malleus, incus, anterior ligament of malleus and sphenomandibular ligament. So these are the skeletal derivatives of the mandibular arch. Now this arch is supplied by a nerve. The nerve supply of this arch is maxillary and mandibular division of trigeminal nerve. So this is the nerve supply of the mandibular arch. Now let's move on to the second arch. The second arch is also known as the hyoid arch. This one also has two derivatives, the muscular derivative and the skeletal derivatives. The muscular derivatives are the muscles of facial expression. In the first arch we had the muscles of mastication, here we have the muscles of facial expression. Then we have the posterior belly of digastric muscle. In the first arch we had the anterior belly of digastric, here we have the posterior belly of digastric. Then we have the stylohyoid, and we have the stapedius. These are the muscular derivatives of the hyoid arch, that is the second arch. Now let's see the skeletal derivatives. The skeletal derivatives are stapes, then the styloid process, of temporal bone, stylohyoid ligament, and lesser horn and upper portion of body of hyoid bone. So these are the skeletal derivatives of the hyoid arch. As the first arch, this second arch is also supplied by a nerve, and this nerve supply is by the facial nerve. The first arch was by the maxillary and mandibular division of trigeminal nerve. The second arch is supplied by the facial nerve. Let's move on to the third arch. The third arch, muscular derivatives, is the stylopharyngeus muscle. And the skeletal derivative is the greater horn and lower portion of body of hyoid bone. We had the lesser portion and lesser horn and upper portion of the body of hyoid bone in the second arch. Here we have the greater horn and lower portion of the body of the hyoid bone in the third arch, and so the nerve supply here is by the glossopharyngeal nerve. So this goes the third arch. Next we have is the fourth arch. The fourth arch, the muscular derivatives are cricothyroid, levator palatine, and the constrictor muscles of the pharynx. The skeletal derivatives are the laryngeal cartilages, those are the thyroid, cricoid, arytenoid, corniculate, and the cuneiform. These are the these are the skeletal derivatives, and so the nerve supply of this arch is superior laryngeal branch of vagus. This goes the fourth arch. Then we have the sixth arch. The muscular derivatives are intrinsic muscles of larynx, and the skeletal derivatives are the laryngeal cartilages. Those are the thyroid, cricoid, arytenoid, corniculate, and the cuneiform. And the nerve supply is by the recurrent laryngeal branch of vagus.